Hello, RF Generation and Legends of the Interwebs fans. This is Neo Magic Warrior coming to you with something a little bit different than usual. Typically, my monthly reviews are in the old text files, but we're going to go ahead and try something a little different here. I've been really into Monster Hunter World. As you can see on the screen, my character there, Neo, playing this. I've got 42 hours of playtime in. And Monster Hunter was one of those things where it really didn't make much sense to write a review. I know that not a lot of people are real familiar with the concepts and kind of how it works. I mean, other than go hunt monsters, it's a little foreign to people. So what I was going to do is, rather than go through and try and give my opinions of everything and do things that way, I figured it'd be a little easier to maybe show you how this game plays, what to expect, kind of how the world looks, and kind of feel it out a little bit. Monster Hunter World is an action RPG, sorta MMO style type of thing. As you can see, the load times, at least the initial ones, are a little rough here. I am playing this on the PS4. It is also available on the Xbox One. And as of this recording, has been out for just over 2 weeks. And 42 hours of gameplay is quite a long time for me to have pumped into something like this so quickly. But as you can see, here is the main area, and it's pretty enormous. All sorts of notifications and things are popping up on the screen. Right now, we are in an online lobby. I'm going to collect my bonus for today. But we are in an online lobby, and you can go ahead and check here in the menus into the player list. And this is a list of all the people in this lobby right now and their status. So most of them are in the headquarters status. That's where we are. Responding to SOSs, so if you're in the middle of a mission and it's a little bit too hard for you, you can call out for help. Then there are obviously quests and expeditions. We're going to go on an expedition in a little bit, but let me take you around. You don't see anybody in this online headquarters lobby area because it changes a little bit as you play the game. As things progress, different things will unlock, different people will show up, different items will change the way this area looks, so they don't put anybody here. There's a special area all the way upstairs, all the way up here, and it's through like a slightly short loading screen where you can actually interact with other people in your camp. One of the big draws of Monster Hunter is weapons. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at like one of the weapon trees here. As you can see, I'm using a hammer, and we're going to go ahead, we're going to go to upgrade, and we will just pick one of my hammers here. And here's the upgrade tree, which is something completely different and new for Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter, you always just kind of got, like, for example, we had this iron hammer. It would show us that we needed 2 iron ores for the next level, but it wouldn't show us any of this stuff. Now they've added an entire tree, and I don't have even half of it. There's still more. The game doesn't even include any G rank content, which is essentially the after game content that most other Monster Hunters have. So we're still missing content. We're still I only have up to rarity 8 items. Rarity 10 items are typically where things go. But you can see some of these have question marks on them. It means I haven't found the item yet to allow me to craft that. Some of these you can just kind of see where it is. Like this, I need the 4 monster hard bones, keen bones, quality bones. Let's go ahead and settle. We are on right now this guy. Let's grab a hammer that I'm looking for, which is actually no. You know what? Here's what we'll do. We will take this hammer right here, and we will add it to something called a wish list, which is something different than they've never had. So here's our current selection. I'm missing some Tobi Kadachi scales and pelts. So I could add this to one of these wish list spots, and as I gathered the necessary items, it would tell you, hey, you gathered this thing. Similar to an MMO, it would give you those updates on your HUD which is a very big quality of life improvement. But to kind of talk through, over on the right-hand side of the screen, we have our attack values. This one in particular is a Thunder Hammer. The Lightning Bash should have given that away. Affinity is kind of like your critical hit, and then Sharpness, while you're out in the wilderness, as you'll see later, you have to keep your sword sharp. I don't know why you have to sharpen a hammer, but things like that happen. It gives you a nice comparison. So, for example, the hammer that I have right now has way more damage than this guy. So we don't want to do that, but I also don't have the electric element. It'll also show you get skills. Skills are generally given to you. Let me go in here and I will check. Oh, there goes my phone. I knew there was going to be some noise somewhere. Let's go ahead. I know. We'll go. You can upgrade your equipment, so you can add additional armor spheres to it to make it a little bit stronger, and it'll give you extra defense and things like that. But you can also forge your equipment based off of new things. You can forge some swords and things along the way. But you can see there is a large chunk of different sets of armor. I am a big fan of the Hornitar armor. It looks similar to like an old Beetleborg, along with the King Beetle armor. But no, there's a ton of armor. Every monster that you run into practically has different stuff. Like this is, I haven't even looked at these yet. That's how new they are for me. The faux feline armor. Oh, you can get a cat head. Sorry to spoil that for anybody who hasn't been out here. You can in fact get a cat head, and it will cost me, as far as equipment is concerned. As I go back to it, I'm going to need some crystal, or some ore, and I'm going to need this later on. You can also forge for your Palico, which we haven't even talked about. You get a cat, and he hunts with you. So this is my cat. That is Jeff, and we can go through and we can preview some of these armor sets. Like we can put him in a cute little ladybug set there, or he can be a real neat Rough Rider there. There's also been some interesting crossover DLC so far. I could make him a Watcher from the hit game Horizon Zero Dawn. That is obviously only on PlayStation. But yeah, there is a wide variety of weapons as we go through here. I'll go ahead and jump back in here. I know we're spending a lot of time on weapons, but there's swords and shields and hammers and lances and guns and bows, and each one of these has its own full move set, its own different styles. Some of these, depending on which weapons, they function differently based off of the upgrade trees you go down. The hammer, for example, stays the exact same regardless of how you update it. It only changes the damage. But different heavy bow guns, for example, can only fire different types of ammunitions based off of what you have. And then the insect glaives, you get to not only change the elements of your weapon, but you get to change the characters of the insect that goes with it. It's a really, really deep and in-depth system, and it works very, very well. If that system doesn't work, this game kind of falls flat, because fighting stuff is pretty much the entirety of the game. Out that way is up towards the Gathering Hall. That's where the multiplayer area is, if you could see other people. And up here is the Cantina. And over here is the Meowscular Chef. We're going to go out on a hunt, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to eat something. Eating before you go out gives you all sorts of bonuses. Like this is going to give me an attack up bonus, which will be real helpful for us going and hunting. And then it plays this awesome little animation of a cat with a giant sword cooking everything. It's just a nice little touch. Also, this food all looks delicious, and I would eat all of it in a heartbeat. So let's go ahead and finish this up. We'll skip through that. That is definitely a skippable thing. You don't have to watch it, but I don't know why you wouldn't. There are the item boxes everywhere. There is a full crafting system. So what you're going to do is while you're out there, you're going to pick up items, like, for example, herbs here, and you can turn them into potions. and then you can take a potion and a honey that you pick up out of a honey hive and turn that honey and the potion into a mega potion, and so on and so forth. You can continuously do this over and over and over again with all sorts of items, max potions. You don't even have all of the craftable lists. So for example, I haven't made nourishing extract and armor skin and combined them. You only really have the combinations. Sometimes you don't know what they are, but you can kind of guess. Like for example, I can tell that this guy, a nitro shroom and a bounce bomb, is going to be some sort of bouncing high explosive. And you can go ahead and craft. You can also, what's neat and different, you can see these check boxes here. Auto crafting. So if I pick up a potion, for example, and I don't have enough potions in my inventory, it will automatically craft me a potion if I have an herb, which is really handy. It's not super handy if you're trying to save up for some other stuff that uses herbs or some other things that do that, but while you're in the middle of a hunt, just being able to have some extra equipment's really nice. Let's go ahead. Where's the quest board? Up here is your handler, but otherwise through the rest of the area there is quest boards. You can change your online session, so you change the lobby that you're in and change the people that you're playing around with. You can join a quest, so we'll go ahead and just for giggles here, we'll take a look at available quests. There's available quests and respond to SOS. Available quests are going in and seeing who's out there hunting and what you can jump into, and respond to SOS will put you into anybody on any server's room that's essentially calling for help. And you can filter that down, whether you want it to be a high rank difficulty, which is where I am, or a low rank, and help out somebody who's stuck at a little bit lower. You can change the preference of your monster that you're fighting. If you're like, hey, I want to help people, but I also need parts for this particular monster, or things like that. With the quest types, you can help people with events or optionals, or there's a billion different types of quests. Just going in here, like for example, there's assigned quests, which are your story quests, which typically were not differentiated from any of this stuff previously. Having story quests differentiated from things is a godsend, and has been fantastic so far. So we can go in and look at that, and like for example, somebody's trying to fight a hunter rank 14 mission, which is something I can't get to. My hunter rank's not high enough yet. There's some optional quests here that you can go through. You can go in different areas and hunt different monsters. Investigations as you kill things. Your research team will ask you to go hunt more things so that they can get more parts, so that they can upgrade different things for you. It really builds on each hunt, builds on the next, builds on the next. And then there's some event quests, like I said, as we go down here. Right now, our event quests are slay 2 monsters that I actually don't recall. Kurins? Triple threat throwdown. So that's fight all 3 of these large monsters in a small arena. And another one, hunt some medium-sized guys in a small arena as well. But what we're going to do, rather than even taking on a quest, we're not even going to bother going out with any sort of real purpose in mind. We're going to just go to the Ancient Forest. It's the first area. We're going to go in a low rank because I don't want anything to really surprise me right now. Also, I don't want to really jump too far ahead and spoil much. I've probably spoiled enough of this game as is, based off of kind of some of the monsters and things. And boy, are there a lot of monsters. There are a ton so far. Not too many water-dwelling monsters, because there's not so much of a... there's the mechanics for swimming aren't there like they were in 3 and 4. But it's probably for the better, because those monsters were awful to have to fight back then. As soon as this decides to load, we can go through some of the mechanics of an actual area and how hunting works. In previous Monster Hunters, the areas used to be split up into loading screens, and this one they're not. It's pretty fantastic. People used to have to fight monsters on the edge of an area, and you would have to worry about getting bumped back from an area and getting knocked out of an area for your hunt. So this is our camp that we're starting out at. We're off in a corner of the map. We don't get any supplies because we're just kind of wandering the woods. And as you can see, there's a bunch of little small monsters. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to equip... there we go. There we go. We've got a capture net equipped in our slingshot device. So we can kind of capture a few small things. The weather is also dynamic. It changes based on what you're doing. But here we go. We've got some old Jagras footprints. So we can go ahead and we can click on that and pick that up. It adds to our scout flies, those green things that are floating around there. They're your helpers, kind of like your arrow. Here's an herb, as it tells you here. We can pick that up and add that to our pouch. And over on the right-hand side, if you can see it, it just crafted potions for me. Let me go ahead and check out my item pouch here. I have 9 potions, so if I pick up another one, it should craft some for me. So we've got these great Jagras footprints again. Once you pick up enough of them, your scout flies just kind of put an indicator on your screen. But these guys, these are some herbivore monsters. And what we can do with them is we can pull out the oldie hammer and kill him. As you can see, an investigation added because I killed a smaller monster there. Oh, hey! Oh, man, that Jagras just... We're going to go hunt him in a minute. But he just ate that thing whole. So while we're at it, we're going to carve this Aptonoth. And we got a raw meat. So what we can do with that raw meat is we can go ahead, cycle it over in our inventory that is not blocked by the logo. Good. And we can drop that out as some sort of a trap. We can put poison on that trap. We can do all sorts of other things like that. Or we can cook it, which is what I intended to do. But I hit the wrong button. So we're going to attempt to find... Oh, there's an Anjanath in this area too. We don't want to fight that. He's big and scary. So I'm going to go ahead. We're going to herb. And there's that potion that I said that we would wind up crafting. We'll pick up some honey. We're going to pick up these footprints. So ideally... There we go. We picked him up on the map. I just noticed him. So here's our map of the area. And there's multiple layers of the map as I scroll through. I'm going to go ahead and select the Great Jagras. And my scout flies are going to go insane here. And they're going to point us in the right direction. There's also like mining outcrops. So we're going to go ahead and gather up some ore. Because I can always use more ore. Jeff should be behind us there. And hey, here's a Great Jagras. We're going to lock onto him. And I'm going to use my charge up on my hammer here. And wail into him. And really, I am quite over leveled to be hunting something like this. And by over leveled, I mean my equipment is much better. Because there is no personal levels in this game. You can't actually increase your hunter in any way, shape, or form. It's other than your hunter rank, but that doesn't do anything for your stats. Only your equipment, and this hammer is much better than what you would typically be hunting this guy with. Even so, he still should take a good couple of swings and hits. As you can see, the little Jagrases in the area are going to kind of come to his aid. The combat in this game is very, very, very frantic, but very slow and methodically paced at the same time. Oh, hey! We killed him. Jeff's explosive weapon in the background there. So what you do is once you've killed a monster, you go ahead and you carve off their body different parts. Like there you can see on the right-hand side, I got a Great Jagras hide. We're going to carve the rest off. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. That's not good. I hear him. I don't see him. There he is. This is an Anjanath, and this is something that can happen while you're out there in the middle of doing things. I just used a piercing pod that I picked up. A plant there. In my slingshot to kind of make him mad. But this is one of those things that can happen. You can run into a monster while you're out hunting. Even another monster, for example. So while you're out there hunting out the low-level Jagras, the Anjanath could just kind of show up and mess your day up. It happens. The monsters will actually fight each other, depending on what types they are and what kinds, or they'll work together. In very few instances. But yeah, sometimes they'll fight. For example, the Anjanath here can pick up the Great Jagras with its huge face and just kind of fling it around. Different from most other monster hunters is the potion system now. Previously, you couldn't move while you potioned. I'm actually going to run while I potion. But if I roll or get knocked out of the way, things like that, I will lose the potion and the gradual healing that it provides. Currently, I am stunned. Jeff just healed me. But this guy, he's no pushover. The camera does leave a little bit to be desired, but it's probably the best camera that Monster Hunter's ever had. It's no Dark Souls camera. It's no Soulsborne camera, but it's certainly workable and usable. Depending on your weapon, you may get a little tired with your combat, which is a bit of a problem, and that the combat shouldn't wear or get boring in any way, shape, or form. But if you have to, for example, the hammer has kind of a limited move set because it is just a hammer, and you kind of swing said hammer, and after 40 hours you get real set into that pattern of swing hammer, apply hammer on face, etc. Ooh, possible that we are going to get this guy to trigger an environmental trap here. There is a tree right there, and you can knock that right on him. There we go. We've knocked him down. We will go ahead and proceed to whiff some of that there. The bar is up in the left-hand top portion of the screen. As I get chased down and he attempts to really get angry at me and breathe fire here. We have the green bar, which is obviously your health. The yellow bar, which is a stamina bar, which comes back rather quickly. More importantly, swinging your weapon does not take up stamina, which it did in the very, very early Monster Hunter games. And they've decided to keep that feature out. Below that is a sword, which is my sharpness. And then depending on your weapon, you will have different items as well. The little icons above my health bar are different buffs that are going on right now. My attack and my elemental resistance that I got from my food. Those will disappear when I faint, get knocked unconscious, and brought back to my camp. Jeff over there is also listed as his status, and those two little paw prints underneath of him are the potions that he's been giving me during the fights here. I kind of have him set to annoy monster, give potions, as his AI will provide. So we're going to go ahead and continuously wail on this guy, who will just take forever. Like I said, these are the first area monsters in the game. This is the earliest area and the earliest monsters you can fight. And I've been playing for 40 hours, and this monster is still not really a challenge, so to speak. I mean, I'm not worried about my health, but if I really make a big mistake, for example, I could get into trouble and kind of get hit with an attack that I'm not expecting, possibly lose some life there. In Expedition mode, there's really no penalty, but there is a penalty for losing too many times during... I tried to sharpen there, and that was a bad idea. There is a penalty for fainting too many times during any missions or quests that you're on. Ugh, get out of the way! However, there's not really any penalty in this mode. It's just kind of hunt whatever you can. But there's no advancing the story or anything like that in this. Ugh. The Anjanath is knocking me out of my hammer charge. That's, you can see the hammer glows whenever I pull it back in that one manner. And it glows like that until you get hit or the monster kind of roars and knocks you down. There's also mitigating factors for all of those things. So if you don't like getting knocked down when the monster roars, you can craft gear with earplug abilities. I like dealing damage, so I crafted items with damage increasers. Everything's very much customized to play to your style of monster hunting. And man, is he taking a lot. He's being a real jerk here. But that's not much different than normal. This particular monster is a jerk. Almost all of the time. As I continuously get knocked across the room. And stunned. So this is a thing that can happen. You can kind of get stunned and put in a bad place like I had said earlier. Let's kind of get out of the way here, and we'll drink a potion while we're running away from old Firemouth. Some of the environmental pieces are destructive, as he has just shown you, which is quite nice. It really lends itself quite nice to the experience. There are in the ancient forest, for example, there are areas up where you can shoot in the air and knock down traps, and you can have monsters run into vines or get trapped in pits, etc. And it really makes everything kind of feel more alive, even if the game doesn't look amazing, and it does look fairly good. It's probably the best Monster Hunter's looked in a good long while. The 3DS games have not been kind. Everything still kind of looked like it was a PS2 game. And this seems to be the first one to really get out of that feel. As this guy continuously roars at me. And like I said, this is gear from 40 hours into the game. Hunting this guy is, I think, a rank 3 or 4 quest early on in the game, so you can tell that it's quite difficult if you don't know what you're doing, or if things are a little rough. But we're gonna hunt him. We're gonna end him. We're gonna run past another monster, a Pookie here. And maybe the old Anjanath will get angry. But I can, for example, shoot these down. They are scatternuts. Let's see if they'll fight. I'm trying to get him to. There he is. They've apparently both just decided to get angry at me in particular. Thank you, cell phone, that I keep forgetting to silence. Trying to see if I can get them to fight each other. I don't know that they're gonna. There's a full stealth mechanic. That's why you can see the edges of the screen kind of collapsing in there. There we go. They're trying to fight each other. He's not a happy camper. I am also lit on fire. There we go. There we go. Hammer spin. But yeah, no, some of these fights, like I said, this is an early monster for this kind of game. I missed a vine. Yeah, you can vine rope Tarzan through the forest here. This has been a good tour of the forest, I'll say that much. Wasn't expecting to have to go through all this. Sound design, all of the monsters sound pretty good, but nothing sounds too exciting. Too different. They all kind of sound very growly and monstery. The weapon sounds feel good, but again, nothing too crazy. The feel of the game is where a lot of the appeal is. At least for me. The feel, the look, and all of these fights, I mean, everything feels very epic, very like I'm fighting a giant Tyrannosaurus Rex bird monster. This thing feels like it's angry at me for repeatedly walloping it with the bones of its dead brethren. As we try and... There we go. He's gone, ladies and gentlemen. It seems we knocked a tear out of his eye. And then we can just carve his body up here. Before we leave, I'm going to take my spoils of war here. And we'll fire off the SOS flare here in the menus. Is how you would just immediately get help from other players. And it would just go ahead. If your quest is password locked, which you can do to play with some friends, it'll immediately cut the password off and match you up with anybody. I just fired the SOS flare just because. But we're going to go ahead. We're going to return from our expedition because we were successful. We hunted. We did whatever we wanted to. We're going to head back to town. It's going to give us a little extra bonus here for hunting some stuff. Here's our special rewards. We get a mane and some ore, some Anjanath stuff. Here are some things gathered by my Palico. And then it's going to give me research points and money, which are different currencies, and everybody's going to level up, and it's kind of your status screen in between missions. And then here we are for a little bit of a loading screen again. But yeah, overall, I've really been enjoying this game. I think that other than some okay graphics, some okay sound, some really long load times, I feel like the game really outshines any of the other Monster Hunter games and most other games right now. This is probably my favorite game that I could be playing at the moment. Even though my character looks ridiculous, and even though, like I said, I've spent a good chunk of that time on loading screens, Monster Hunter World has had an excellent impression on me, especially as a fan of the Monster Hunter series. So I know what I'm getting into, and I thought I'd show you a little bit of what you would be getting into with regards to that. Go ahead and... Man, phone. Go ahead and leave me some comments here, either on the YouTube page or the RF Generation page. You can always find me. I'm on rfgeneration.com, Neo Magic Warrior, or on youtube.com/legendsoftheinterweb is the other place that you can find me. Until next time, stay legendary, everybody.